The North African Campaign is a largely overlooked event during the course of World War II. If the result of this campaign was any different, it could have altered the course of the war. This campaign all started with Italy's invasion of Egypt in 1940. But first, we will talk about how this campaign came to be. It all started with the Nazi blitzkrieg of Europe. After France fell to Germany in 1940, most of Western Europe is under Axis control. The red is under German control, the lighter shades of red are the Baltic states, White Russia, Ukraine, Moscow, Donetsk Basin, and Caucasus, and the blue is under Allied control. North Africa represented a key strategic backdoor into Europe for the Western Allies. And for the Axis powers, it offered the possibility of access to the Suez Canal and the Middle East oil fields. If the Germans could have broken through, they could have starved Britain of oil, cut her off from India, and ultimately threatened the Russian southern flank. So if Germany or Italy were to have taken this over, it arguably would have spelled defeat for the Allies. On September 13, 1940, Italy invaded Egypt from bases in Cyrenaica, Libya. The Italians advanced 50 miles to Sidi Barrani and dug in on September 16th. The British attacked on December 9, 1940, after 2 months of building up their forces. They retake Sidi Barrani 2 days later and quickly drive west, taking the heavily fortified Bardia on January 5, 1941, and the fortress of Tobruk on January 22nd. Moving west, British forces trapped the retreating Italians at Bet Affam, where some 190,000 prisoners are captured. The British advance stops at El Agheila on February 9th. At the same time, General Erwin Rommel and his Africa Corps arrive at Tripoli in western Libya with the goal of reaching El Alamein. On March 24, 1941, Rommel's tanks sliced through the thinly held line at El Agheila, sending the British into retreat. By April 15th, the Axis forces are back at Salem, just inside Egypt, with British forces still holding the Libyan port of Tobruk. Rommel fails to take Tobruk in a series of April attacks, but defeats British counterattacks from Egypt in May and June. A 4-month stalemate followed, during which Rommel was denied reinforcements from Germany, and British forces reorganized into the 8th Army. The British struck west on November 18, 1941, but a German counterattack cut into the rear of the 8th Army, almost wrecking the offensive. Weeks of fighting ensued, until Rommel conceded defeat and retreated westwards. The British tried to cut across the desert to trap the retreating Axis forces at Bet Affam, but Rommel blocks this move by establishing a strong defense line, holding open the coastal corridor. Axis forces retreat past Agadir and reach El Agheila on December 30th, but the Axis garrisons at Bardia and Salem hold out until January 1942. With the arrival of an Axis convoy at Tripoli on January 5th, the stage is set for Rommel's counterattack. On January 21st, 1942, Rommel fires back and pushes the British eastward to Gazala. A pause followed as both sides rebuild their forces. On May 28th, German divisions hook around the British left flank, and in 2 weeks they routed the 8th Army. Rommel retakes Tobruk along with 30,000 Allied prisoners. He strikes deep into Egypt, reaching El Alamein on July 1st. A series of desperate counterattacks, later named the First Battle of El Alamein, stalls the Axis advance. On October 23, 1942, the commander of the Allied Army, General Bernard Montgomery, launches a fresh attack, the Second Battle of El Alamein. After 12 days of heavy fighting at El Alamein, Rommel starts retreating to the west on November 4th. The 8th Army gives chase, taking the Libyan capital of Tripoli on January 23, 1943, and crossing the Tunisian border on February 4th. Meanwhile, Allied troops land at Oran, Algiers, and Casablanca on November 8, 1942, as part of Operation Torch. The Vichy French forces in Morocco and Algeria soon surrendered. In Tunisia, rapid German troop movements into the country stalled the Allied advance within 20 kilometers of the capital Tunis. On February 14, 1943, Rommel launches a major offensive at the Kasserine Pass, smashing an American corps. He is ordered to turn north, but his advance is halted by Allied reinforcements. He is forced to order withdrawal from Kasserine on February 22nd. Between March 20th and 26th, the Allied 8th Army attacks the Axis forces on the Mareth line and drives north. At the same time, Allied forces attack from the west, pushing Axis forces into a tight perimeter around Tunis and Bizerte. The final assault opens on May 3rd. The Allies enter Tunis on May 7th and Bizerte on May 9th. They declare victory on May 13th and take 275,000 prisoners. The Germans lost North Africa, causing them to rush back to protect their land. Losing North Africa meant a loss of momentum for Germany and the Axis powers. This carried through the rest of the war, ultimately spelling defeat for the Axis and the end of the war to end all wars. The North African campaign is a largely overlooked event during the course of World War II. If the result was any different, it could have altered the course of the war. The main points of this project are: the fight over North Africa was started over the need for the Suez Canal and the Middle East oil fields. The North African campaign was a back-and-forth war between General Montgomery and General Rommel. The beginning of the end was the launching of Operation Torch, eventually leading to the invasion of Tunisia and Bizerte.